We're calling a meeting to order at 6:12 p.m. Roll call of members, please, starting right here. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Member Jillian, Ms. Garland. Member Julia.
Present.
Member Mark Johnson. And Mr. Cheney.
Present.
Warren Hamilton presiding, member present as well. Next, we're going to go into approval of minutes. I'm sure we've all looked at them and checked them out, so can I have someone offer a motion? You got to press the button.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion has carried. Are there any changes to the agenda that anybody has recommended or wants?
No.
Okay, no changes to the agenda. Public comment. Is there anybody signed up for public comment? And please, only 3 minutes per comment. And first up, we have Mr. Tom Hoey, Common Council.
One, you gotta speak up a little bit more. They're having a hard time hearing. Don't speak so hard.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Ooh, sorry
Good evening.
about that. I'll stand back too. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Tom Hoey. I'm the Common Council representative for Ward 15 and also the chair of the Public Safety Committee. As many of you probably know, for the last 18 months, the CPRB has been going through some waves and rough times, rough seas. And I'm here tonight to let you know that the final 2 positions to fill the 9 seats for the CPRB have been approved, and they will be brought up in front of the council on Monday. And I personally want to thank all of you for doing the extra work, because you have been shorthanded, and some have been on longer than others trying to keep this going. On Tuesday night, we had a public safety meeting, and we did have a resident come in who had filed a complaint. And because the CPRB was not up and running, we ran out of time on it. And it was, for the first time, I could see the emotion that people have, that they want to go somewhere and appeal. They want to go to the community and say, I think I've been mistreated. Tell me what you think. And we missed out on that. But I am confident moving forward that you're going to do a great job, and you have been doing a good job, and I really, really appreciate it. And the important thing is that we want to build this trust with our community, that if something they feel is wrong happens, that we look at it with a unbiased eyes and really give a good judgment to hear the case, look at it. And so I appreciate you all. I appreciate you doing this work. I know it can be tough, but I'm excited about the next meeting. You should have the full 9. And I'm also going to thank you. I know you have, many of you are going to have to go for training with the police academy, and that's a commitment, but I think that's going to build a more robust CPRB. And I want to thank Garrett, Braylin, and I haven't met the new investigator yet, but thank you for running the office, being there, and we are building the CPRB. This is going to be, the community is going to really like what they see when we get up and running fully. So thank you. The only question or the only ask I have of you is, and I'd mentioned to Garrett, and I think he might bring it up at the meeting tonight, we need more police on the force. We're down, I want to guess around 60. So we're trying to get people recruited. So I'd asked Garrett, and he will run it by you guys, can we put up the test date on your webpage so people know that there's a test coming up? They do visit your page, and the way I look at it, if you feel, you have a complaint against the police, what better way to fix it than to join it and fix the problem from inside? So we're going to encourage people from the community. I'd like to see, 100% from our community on our force. So with that, I'll let you all go. Thank you for your work tonight, and looking forward to the next couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Next up, we have Pastor Williamson. Public comment. Pastor Alexis Williamson.
Hello,
Hello.
Good evening.
my name is Alexis Williamson. I'm here on the behalf, I am also the president of the Second Avenue Association. I'm here today because my husband, case is coming before you guys. The reason why I'm here is because I live with him. I know him. I've been with him for 42 years. I've been married the other day for 35 years. So if anybody know John Williamson, is Alexis Williamson. So I had a chance to talk to my grandson about the case and about what happened that night. And so the same thing my husband said what happened is the same thing my grandson said at a different time. So that's how I knew that what my husband was saying was the truth. Not that I did not believe him, but also my grandson was in that car too. But I had a chance to see the tape before anyone, because I'm also on ACPAC, Peace, Police, and Policy. I'm on that board too. So when I went to go see that tape, I looked at it with fresh eyes. I believe whatever position that I am in, I take that serious. And so it's not about I'm related to you. It's none of that. It's about what's the facts before me. And when I seen that, I seen what everybody else seen. But in that, I know my husband. And I know my husband was being protective due to the fact that prior years before what happened to my husband, when my husband was picking me up from the hospital, and a gun was in his face. So I believe that fear could have been a part of his response, not knowing why he was being pulled over. One thing that I do know that my husband has never used his title to get out of anything. When I looked at the tape, I was wondering why was there 3 cop cars there? And then I also know that we had got a call that it wasn't only 3 cop cars there, it was 9 cop cars there. And my whole thing is, why? For someone saying that he didn't turn on his signal to turn. When I spoke to my grandson, my grandson said that when he was dropping off his friend, so that's how my husband was even in that area. My husband had just got done dropping off another council person. And in that, he was going down 3rd Street. He made that right. He stopped at the stop sign, and he made that right, and he was going down towards 2nd Street at the next stop. As he went to the next stop, as he was going to the next stop, he stopped, and then he kept going. And before he could turn, the cop had turned around, and he had already put on his signals. But my husband did not think that that signal was for him, because you never know. You know, with these police these days, they're gonna go past the light or whatever, you know, try to get past you or whatever. And so my husband did not stop when he seen the flashing light. So he kept going. And as he kept going, that's when he noticed that the cop was getting ready to pull him over. So he moved over to the right by the family court. And so the same way my husband said to me what happened, my grandson said the same thing. But not only that, I spoke to 2 councilmen that night. I ain't gonna say which ones. But in that, and me speaking to the both of them, they both told me that my husband handled himself correctly, because I wanted to know how my husband handled himself, because I wasn't there. But my husband so happened to call 2 councilmen when this thing went down, when it went down with the police. And so when I finally caught up to my husband, I asked my husband, he told me that one of the councilmen was on the phone. He had called him when he was talking to the officer, and I had also called the councilman, and I had spoke to him. He said, no, your husband handled himself correctly. So I just wanted to say to you guys, before that statement was put out there, it wasn't just my husband who put that statement out there on his Facebook. It was myself too, because I helped write that statement for my husband. Not only myself, me and another council person, before that statement went out. Like I said, I'm not gonna say which one, but that one knows who helped us. In him helping us, we felt that the information that we got was true to a point. And then I told my husband, and my husband gave it to my husband, and my husband posted it. So this case came off a post, a private post. So that meant that we can't post on our Facebook anymore. Whatever we feel that has happened to us. And I understand that he is a council person. I understand that he has to watch what he says and all this other stuff, because it's going to be looked at more clear, more not just clearly, but he's going to be watched because he's the councilman. I believe that my husband is taking his job seriously. He's doing the work. And the comments that we have received, from people that read the post, some of them was really behind us and in the comment, and then there was a lot that was not. But we had to live through this. And so it's been hard being out in the public eye. It's been very hard. Don't nobody know what a public servant go through. But when you're doing a job and you trust in God that you're doing the job right, you do what you gotta do for the people. But I just wanna say, as John Williamson's wife, I believe in my husband, and I believe in this call that my husband has as a councilman. It took us 12 years to get here, and I don't believe he's gonna do anything that's going to mess him up once he got here. And I still stand behind my husband. So I just wanted to say that to you guys. Took us 12 years, 12 long years, being pushed away, and people put into the position that you have went out for, and next thing you know, they're appointed to that position, and they didn't even go out for the position. But we waited, he waited for his time, and his time is here, and his time is now, and I believe that he's doing an excellent job. And I believe that he's going to continue to do an excellent job for the next 4 years. So I just ask you guys to keep my husband up in your prayers and to keep our family up in our prayers, because it's not easy being a public servant and wanting the best for people in your neighborhood, your constituents, because they deserve your best. They don't deserve a yes person. They deserve a person that's going to fight for them. And so that's what we're going to keep doing as a family, and I'm here to back my husband. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to have communication from the City of Albany with updates from CPRB staff.
Good evening, everyone. So the first item I want to discuss is the September meeting. So the second Thursday of September is September the 10th. However, September the 7th is Labor Day, which is the date of a regularly scheduled Common Council meeting. The Common Council will be making up their September the 7th meeting on September the 10th, which means we will be unable to meet because they will be in this room. Understanding that, the membership needs to decide tonight if we want to meet on September the 3rd or September the 17th. Or you have the option of deciding not to have a September meeting at all. Just for frame of reference, after complaints that are reviewed tonight, there will be 4 complaints that must be presented at the September meeting or will pass the 120-day mark. Any questions about that? In regards to the biannual report, initially the first version of the biannual report was issued and published on the 17th of last month. After publication, Lieutenant Peterson with the Office of Professional Standards at APD contacted me because we had a data mismatch. His data did not match the data I had. We worked in reconciling that data. We discovered that the data mismatch resulted in several complaints being reported as open that were in fact closed. We published a revised report on the website and issued a revised report through our notification channels. The changes to the report are listed in bold within the report. Are there any questions about the revisions? In regards to the request for proposals, so the CPRB needs to procure mediation service providers, and we need to renew our service agreement with our current records management system. Both of those require a request for proposal to be issued. I provided membership with a draft copy of those requests for proposals with a request for feedback or questions to be submitted to us on the 10th so we could discuss them at this meeting. No questions were submitted, so I presume there are no questions other than the one potential typographical error Member Hamilton just identified to me earlier this evening. Are there any questions about either request for proposal? Okay, that is all I have. I think up next, I want to take a second and introduce our newest investigator, who is Avon Clements. He joined us on Monday. He will be assisting and working with membership for complaint reviews and helping with monitoring and investigating complaints that membership decides to monitor and or investigate. He'll introduce himself here shortly. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to provide a brief update on our community efforts and a few upcoming announcements. And so this summer, the CPRB has participated in the 2026 Place Series, where we visited Black Lives Matter Park on July 24th, Buckingham Pond on July 31st, and Lincoln Park on August 7th. We have also participated on the Alert Fest at MVP Arena, where we got to connect with the residents, promote community awareness, and strengthen our presence within the community. I would like to give out a special thanks to everyone who participated and represented the CPRB at these events. We really appreciate your continued commitment and support. I would also like to announce that we are currently working with the Center for Law and Justice and APD Office of Professional Standards to host 2 educational workshops focused on explaining the complaint process and helping community members better understand how it works. These learning sessions will be held on Wednesday, August 26th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and on Saturday, September 19 from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will continue promoting these events through our social media and community outreach efforts, and we encourage everyone to share these information with their networks. Oh, I'm sorry. They're going to be at 520 Livingston in the Recreation Department. Another announcement is regarding our old CPRB Facebook page, which is currently listed as Albany Community Police Review Board. That page will be deleted on August 21st. We encourage anyone who follows the old pages to follow our new official CPRP social media accounts so they can continue receiving updates about our events, workshops, and other activities. That concludes my updates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We are going to do old business now.
We need a staff interjection from Mr. Clements first.
I thought you did at the end of your last.
Right, but I'm going to let him introduce himself to the group.
Okay, sounds good.
Good evening. My name is Avon Clements, and I'm extremely excited to be a part of the CPRB as an investigator. Brief history about myself. Prior to this, I served Hannaford Supermarkets as the district lead asset protection coordinator, overseeing loss prevention, investigations, and risk management for upstate New York. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you.
And Member Hamilton, if I may, I forgot to add one thing on the biennial report. So as of today, the CPRB currently has 153 open complaints. 10 of those complaints are pending action with APD. 143 of those complaints are pending action with the CPRB. Out of those 143 complaints, 111 have already passed the 120-day maximum review period allowed by law, and the CPRB recommendations cannot be considered by APD. There are 30 complaints pending review that are less than 120 days old. Out of that 30, 11 of those complaints are between 160 and 120 days old, and the required notification of extension has been issued. 10 of those 30 complaints will be closed this evening at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So for old business, we only have 2 items. One will be open business, the other will be an executive session. The first one is consideration of 2026 budget recommendations.
So as a refresher for membership, several months ago, I provided membership a recommendation to assist the city with its budgetary financial troubles that it's experiencing, and recommended that the board evaluate returning any of our budgeted funds for 2026 that were over the 1% threshold we're guaranteed by law. I make that recommendation based off of last year's actual expenditures. At the end of the fiscal year last year, the CPRB expended less than 60% of its allocated budget, which was over the 1% that was required by law. We are on track at this point in time to also be under that 1% threshold. So in order to demonstrate and give back to the city like all of the other city departments have been requested, I'm recommending that you consider returning the value over the 1% threshold, which would be approximately $89,000. I don't know the exact figure off the top of my head. I have to calculate it for sure. If that is something that y'all are interested in, we can do that, but that would require a motion from the board and a vote in order to do that.
Thank you very much, Garrett. I did read those budget recommendations a while back, and I liked them a lot. So it'd be great if we could have a member who could make a motion with respect to approving those budget recommendations from the director. Yes, make a motion for that old business item for budget recommendations.
approval to make the recommendation.
That was a motion to approve those 2026 budget recommendations. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
All those members in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. I move, I'll make this motion. I move to enter executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. Anybody second that motion?
Second. I second.
All those in favor of executive session, say aye.
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 Aye. Hello, we are back with new business, review of complaints, and we will start with an update from the Office Professional Standards and Lieutenant Peterson.
Good evening. My name is Detective Lieutenant Benjamin Peterson from the Office of Professional Standards. I oversee the complaint cases that come through CPRB to the Albany Police Department. As far as status updates go from the office, I can tell you that I appreciate working with Garrett and his team in reconciling the biannual report to get those case numbers in check with what realistically we have going on. As of right now, our office currently has less than 10 open cases, which is a good number for us. It allows the detectives, we have 5 detectives, to thoroughly investigate those cases and get them over to the CPRB in a timely manner for review. And we appreciate the board as well getting those reviews completed so that we can review them here today. Our office also handles all the hiring for the police department, whether it's police officers or non-sworn. So just to echo the councilman, his comments earlier in regards to recruiting, I see this office as a unique position where we can take police transparency, working with the CPRB in order to further our reputation and trust within the community, and also use that to recruit within the city. So I always ask at every meeting, please, anyone that knows someone that is looking for gainful employment, worthwhile employment, fulfilling careers, please send them our way. They can fill out an application online, take our police test. You can find information on that on any of the city sites or our social media pages. We are currently processing our next police academy class. We just did a physical agility test last week, and we had a great turnout for that. We had a good amount of people pass, and we're going to go into our background investigations with a really solid number. That should put us in a good spot for hiring for our next police academy class. We also currently have a police exam posted. We'll be offering that in October of this year. Cutoff date is mid-September. So please send people our way. We need qualified, good police officers. And I see our relationship as part of the mission to getting us there. I have no other updates. I look forward to hearing the reviews.
If I may, does the membership have an objection to posting information about the police exam and APD's recruitment efforts on the CPRB's website and/or our social media?
I don't. Good idea.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there's no objections before we do that. So tomorrow, Braylon will reach out to the lieutenant, get the necessary information, and we'll get that published either tomorrow or Monday.
Great idea.
Lieutenant Peterson, can I ask you a question? I'm not sure if that's
Of course.
normal at this point with your report. If I could just ask a follow-up, that's especially when you're talking about screening. I had the opportunity to speak with Chief, forgetting his name, the prior chief, right, about recruitment. Hawkins, thank you, Chief Hawkins. And the bottom line, and it was a long conversation, but he says he's not going to try to prejudge any officer. We're talking like maybe social media. And so in other words, especially with the work we do, we would probably have some concerns with screening and prior officers. It's just a normal part of work, right? So his philosophy was, if they come into my building and do something bad, you know, that's really when we could address it, but necessarily looking at a post and then trying to make a determination. So how are you folks doing that these days?
That's a great question. Before I answer it, because I'm going to answer it, I'm going to direct people to the CPRB website and social medias, because we are going to be holding in-person workshops to answer questions just like that. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have one at the end of August and then in September. And I think we'll answer a lot of people's misconceptions and ideas about certain questions like that. When it comes to screening, the biggest bulk of the screening is done, you know, through the physical agility exams. We lose quite a few people. We try to get them to where they need to be through PT workshops and some coaching. After that, we take that pool of people that pass that state standard that they need to pass in order to get considered for employment, and we assign them to our detectives for background investigations. Every investigation is handled thoroughly and to the same standard. We don't pre-screen anyone based off social media posts or anything like that. We have applicants fill out a very thorough and long application packet, personal history questionnaire, and I'll ask them questions about social media, past employment, and such. Once we have that compiled, we review it, and then we have an interview with every applicant. If the applicant has questionable social media posts or arrests, employment issues in the past, we address it in the interview, and we give everyone the opportunity to answer to that. What we really like to see is people telling the truth. Truthfulness is a huge disqualifier for us, so if people lie about things that we know are true, then that it's going to be a disqualifier. We can't have that. But we hire people that have been terminated from other jobs. We hire people that may have made questionable social media posts when they were teenagers. We don't have much tolerance for any kind of racism or harassment or sexual discrimination, but we understand people are human and people make mistakes, and we can live with that, and we make sure we address them. So pre-screening, it's very light. We like to actually talk to people in person before we disqualify them and not give them a shot.
So just really quick, so then post-screening, so you have an officer who may or may not have some issues. Does that then come back into play in a more solid way, social media, in terms of investigating or whatever? Not even if it's a real investigation, but you have issues with an officer?
I don't know if I'm necessarily following. Once we clear them for a background, they move on for the hiring process. And any social, I would need an example of what you mean by questionable social media posts.
Well, I meant to say questionable activity, like the officer's a problem, so then other people start screening and looking for other information to see if the person is suitable for service.
Yeah, we wouldn't hire people that have employment issues. Police officers, like especially a lateral person with some other employment issues, they wouldn't pass our background investigation.
Okay, I don't want to take up too much time.
We can chat after. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
How are you?
Please forgive me. I'm Mr. Cheney. Good evening. I was just wanting to know, with the oncoming ADA compliances, when there may be a person who is stopped that may need certain, let's say, sufficient treatment. I did speak with someone just recently where there is an identifier on their ID or / license to let the officers know. Are we implementing anything in the City of Albany for people who might need special services when dealing with them in a traffic stop, or just to approach special needs for some of our community members?
That's a great question. Our training in Albany is top-notch. I can tell you that myself, I have gone to disability awareness training specific to law enforcement. It's a very interesting training, very worthwhile, and that's something that we continue to offer. As far as the new policies in regards to dealing with persons with disabilities and how law enforcement would interact with them, that's something that we would absolutely consider if the law were to be changed, where there needs to be different considerations. But I am keenly aware of the ideas that you're talking about in regards to people that live with autism. We also have services that we contract through for language services, whether that's ASL or any other language that we can use for interpretation when dealing with people.
Well, I really appreciate that, because oftentimes we may receive some of those questions, and one of the best ways to be able to answer is to actually get, or actually to know the resources, and thank you for answering that question.
No further questions. Thank you. Next, we have complaints for review. First one is AD 2024-89, Member Garland.
Case number AD 2024089, date received July 24, 2024. CPRB board member assigned to Lillian Garland. Complaint submitted July 24, 2024. Date and time of the initial incident was July 8, 2024 at 0902 hours. Location of the incident was 47 Osborne Street, Albany, New York. The review revealed APD officers responded to a report of a domestic disturbance. Once on the scene, they learned the male suspect had fled and encountered a victim who was reluctant to provide them with details of the disturbance. While the officers were investigating the incident, the complaint arrived from a nearby school. And initially, the complaint asked about what was happening and if there was any safety issues for the school. The officer informed the complainant that the scene was secure. As the officers continued their investigation, the complaints misheard was that the officer was telling the victim. The complainant believed that the officer was being dismissive and ignoring the complainant, when in fact the officers believed they were explaining to the complainant the process to file a criminal report and charges against the no longer present male, which would require her to complete paperwork at the APD South Station. The officers also explained the process of obtaining assistance via family court. As the complainant remained on the scene, he made remarks that the officers' actions would have been different had the incident happened in a different area of a city with a different racial makeup. The officer responded to the complainant and asserted that the APD would address the matters. And the victim's father began to engage in an argument that the officers had to intervene in the occurred while officers were directed the attention to the complaint. The nature of the argument between the suspect's uncle and the victim's father rose to a level that all of the officers on the scene had to intervene and stop the verbal altercations from escalating. It should be noted that the complainant remarks to the officers that the suspect's uncle and victim's fathers were just talking and not yelling. In response, the complainant continued present in interference with the officer's attempt to respond to the domestic. The complainant was instructed to return to his duties at the school. While being informed he continued interference and could result in the arrest. Finally, the review revealed the officer failed to properly activate his body-worn camera. If should, he noted that the tone of the officer speaking to the complainant was consistent with the tone of just talking that the complainant said the suspect's uncle and victim's father were using. I concur with OPS's finding and make the following recommendations. Call handling, improper response, unfounded. Call handling, improper response, unfounded. Conduct standard, exonerated. Body-worn camera sustained. Conduct standards, threatening termination and arrest, exonerated. Recommendations for policies and discipline in connection was sustained. Allegations, if any, based on the above, recommending the officer receive a written reprimand for failing to activate his body-worn camera.
Is the complainant here? Anybody here? No. Any questions from any of the members? No questions? Can we get a motion to accept this report? Is there a second? Julia? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The next complaint is CC 2025-55, Member Hamilton, and that is myself. Case number CC 2025-55, that was originally received October 7, 2024, assigned to Warren Hamilton. It was received, the report, to our office June 2nd, 2026. And the initial incident was August 31st, 2025 at 01:35 hours. Location, Hudson Avenue. Officers and misconduct, use of force exonerated. There were multiple officers involved. The summary of the review of the investigation. The investigation included multiple camera angles from the perspective of officers as they encountered the vehicle and its occupants. The incident from start to finish is very clear to assess because of ample video footage. The complainant was riding his car in the neighborhood with multiple people standing on the running boards and hanging on the car. This activity was observed by multiple officers. The interdepartmental correspondence from Sergeant Bruner explains how the driver was not compliant and refused to put his hands over his head and leave the car. He also makes clear that the punch that he did render to the complainant while he was struggling with him was to get the complainant's attention, right? He wasn't following the officer's command, so the officer applied a punch to the head while he was trying to get him out the car, and that got the person to comply. CPR board members' findings. I concur with the OPS findings and make the following recommendations. Officer Sergeant Bruner, Coleman, Farley, Smith, and Bowen, use of excessive force exonerated. I did review multiple videos. The gentleman was not listening. He was not compliant. Officers are giving him multiple opportunities to listen and to play along the right way. He refused, so they took him out the car. And with that, then he complained it was excessive force, exonerated. Submitted July 29th, 2026. And those were my findings and my recommendation. Can we get a motion to, if there any, is the complainant here? Okay, so can we, any questions from the membership? If you so choose, can we have a motion to approve this report?
I make a motion that the report is accepted.
Is there a second? Second? Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Next report is CC 2026-19, Member Johnson.
Yes, this complaint was case number CC 2026-019. It was received on April 17th, 2026. The Office of Professional Standards, detective assigned was Adeline, and the board member assigned was Johnson. The complaint was submitted on April 17th, 2026. The date and time of the initial incident was April 6, 2026. The location of the incident was at 426 Elk Street, Apartment 1, Albany, New York. The officer and allegations of misconduct was Officers Farley and Fitzgerald. The arrest authority and procedures complaint was improper arrest, and it was exonerated by the OPS. The investigation and findings, the summary of those of the CPRB members' review of investigation was as such. The review revealed that officers responded to the complainant's apartment twice within 60 minutes. On the officer's first response, the complainant reported that she and her boyfriend were drinking and an argument occurring during which her boyfriend choked her for 5 minutes. However, the complainant had no visible injuries. The boyfriend's neck and right foot were injured. During this response, the complainant informed officers that she did not want to press charges against her boyfriend. On the officer's second response, the boyfriend reported the complainant attacked him. The officers observed injuries consistent with being attacked, and the boyfriend expressed a desire to press charges on the complainant. Based on this, the officers arrested the complainant. The board members, my findings are, I concur with the OPS findings and make the following recommendations. That Officer Farley and Fitzgerald, the arrest authority and procedures were improper, arrested, it was exonerated. My recommendations for policy and or discipline in connection with the sustained allegations, if any, are none.
Thank you. Is the complainant here or anyone from there? Are there any questions by any members? I offer up a motion to accept that report. Can we get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That motion carries. CC 2026-28, Member Garland.
Case number CC 2026028, date received May 19, 2026. Office of Professional Standards, OPS. CPRB board member signed is Garland. Complaint submitted was May 19, 2026. Date and time of the initial incident was June 12, 2025 at 19:16 hour. Location of the incident was 592 Livingston Avenue. Arrest authorities and procedures, improper arrest, and use of force. The review revealed officers responded to a disturbance. Officer was the first to arrive and observed several individuals arguing. As the officer began his investigation, he encountered a male and female who were allegedly they were physically fighting with each other. At one point, the female walked from the bottom of the porch stairs toward another female while raising her voice and appearing to escalate the interaction. The officer responded by telling the female to back up, using his hands to direct the female and de-escalate the situation. The female responded by pushing the officer, causing him to fall into a pile of trash. At that time, the officer was arriving, observed the female pushing the officer, and the officer fell. Officer deployed his OC spray, which stopped the fighting. Additionally, the review revealed as the officers were investigating the incident, several individuals fled on foot or obstructed the officer from pushing the fleeing individual. These individuals were all arrested. Finally, the review revealed the officer failed to properly activate his body-worn camera, but that he proactively reported his failure to his supervisor and completed and supplement report documenting the failure. I concur with the OPS findings and make the following recommendations. The arrest authorities and procedures was improper arrest was exonerated. The use of force excessive was exonerated. Body-worn camera failed to activate, sustain. Recommendations, the policy and/or discipline in connection with the sustained allegation. It is recommended that the officer receives retraining on the use of body-worn camera. This is a part due to officers' proactive self-reporting. Comments regarding the quality of the OPS investigation.
I have a question on your findings, just a little bit. So your recommendation was that they have retraining. What was your recommendation?
I believe her recommendation for the sustained body camera violation was retraining on body camera policy.
Yes.
Okay, for sustained. Okay, yes, thanks. No, that's all I got. I just wanted to make sure I heard that correctly. Well, while I'm there, did you think about anything other than retraining? Because if the majority of officers always turn their cameras on, you would think the training's sufficient because they're all doing it and the one person didn't. So I'm not quite sure how that's a training issue.
So if I may, Member Garland, may I? May I respond to his question for you?
You want to respond to that question?
Okay, yes, please.
I assisted Member Garland with this review, and during the course of the review, we learned some things about the failure to activate. First, it was in response to a dynamic incident. He was dispatched to a call related to a fight, and when he arrived, the disturbance was actively going, so he tried to quickly address that. And when he realized the camera was not activated, he proactively informed his supervisor of that failure and wrote a report documenting his failure to activate. So he took ownership of his failure. So that was part of the reason why she agreed, or she decided to recommend a retraining versus any other form of discipline.
Okay, you said he was dispatched, so at dispatch he would have turned it on in the car, so he failed to turn it on.
I don't know how far from the location he was when he was dispatched to the call for service, but when he arrived at the call for service, he observed an active disturbance going on and decided that he needed to address that instantaneously. When he was the time between when he was dispatched and the time he arrived on scene is unclear. Her recommendation for the penalty is the recommendation. If the board chooses not to accept that recommendation for the penalty, that's fine. What we're really looking to accept is, or vote upon, is the finding and the recommendation of that specific sustained finding. So Member Garland was satisfied with recommending a retraining for the body camera violation.
Exactly. So I just wanted to bring that out for all the other members to get the full understanding, because I think the camera should have been turned on when he was dispatched. So we were talking about arriving on the scene and things are hectic. But when the dispatch came in, before he got on the scene and things were hectic, I think the camera should have been on.
Correct, but that's why the violation is sustained.
Okay, right.
The violation is sustained because he failed to activate it on time as required by policy.
Yes, on
Right.
time and
So
when he arrived at the scene. So at multiple instances where the person could have put their camera on and they didn't. That's all. I'm not trying to haggle over it. It's pretty obvious. Any questions by any directors? Members? Do I have a motion for that report?
I move to accept the members' findings.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Next, we have CC 2026-33, Member Hamilton. Date received May 28, 2026. I'll repeat that number just in case you missed it. CC 2026-33. OPS report um, was received by us June 10th, 2026. Date of the initial incident, May 25th, 2026, 1724 hours. Location of the incident, 120 Spring Street, Albany, New York. And there were officers, and allegations were on arrest authority procedures and call handling. The complainant alleges improper arrest authority and procedure, as well as call handling regarding how the officers responded. The former was about why so many officers approached her with guns drawn. The call handling is about why the officers would not respond to her immediately when they were on scene, and she was inquiring about what was going on. The investigation revealed that the occupants of the car were the subject of a false police report. So basically, a woman was sitting in the car with some members of her family. Police came up very hot. Whenever they have a call of a gun or something like that, it is serious business, and it's all, they're coming, and it will scare you. So she was a little put off of why there was guns and all these cops. It was a false call. The false call said there was a woman waving a gun out of a car window on Spring Street. So while the complainant was in the car with her children, multiple squad cars merged upon her car. In the dash cam video from one of the patrol cars, I see the child of the complainant get out of the car to talk to officers. So they were really unaware of what was going on, because while they're there thinking someone's got a gun, some kid hops out of the passenger side and briskly walks towards one of the officers, who's like, you need to like stop. So it was all a very confusing scene. The child was detained, like right there, handcuffed, to make sure the person didn't have a gun, because they were called to a gun on the scene. So it was a real big misunderstanding. I concur in part and do not concur with some of the other findings that I will say below. Allegations of misconduct, Sergeant Mall, Officer Query, arrest authority, exonerated for being held at gunpoint because it happened, but they were trying to control the scene and they had to have their guns drawn. Failure to properly communicate, exonerated. Again, the police are there on a scene where they think there's someone with a gun, and they're not really talking to people and responding to questions because they really are kind of busy trying to control the scene. So the severity of the high-risk stop meant that guns had to be drawn, so I say exonerated. However, for the second allegation, I say exonerated as opposed to unfounded. The original allegation or findings said that it's unfounded. I'd say it's exonerated because it did happen. The procedures for a high-risk stop does not say that the officer cannot talk to or answer questions while they perform their duties. They are not violating procedures if they remain silent. Acknowledging a request from a person can enhance safety, like the person won't be all freaked out if you just answer a question or two. Totally ignoring someone who is scared and seeking answers to legitimate questions does not enhance safety of the stop. But I'm not an officer, so I could be wrong on that, and that's why I changed it to exonerated as opposed to the original findings, which again were exonerated for the first one and then unfounded, which is basically saying the person, I don't know if it's made it up, but it just didn't happen. It did happen, but that's why I switched it to exonerated. The officer's okay in what they did, but I prefer not to say what the citizen said is unfounded. Is that clear? Any questions? Can I have a motion on this report?
I make a motion that the recommendations be accepted.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 That motion carries. Next, we have CC 2026-36, Member Cheney.
Case number CC 2026-036. Date received June 10th, 2026. Office of Professional Standings, Detective, assigned Styles. CPRB, Board Member, assigned James Cheney. Complaint submitted June 10th, 2026. It's 206, I'm sorry.
That June 10th date's the date we received the complaint back from OPS.
Okay. All right. Date and time of initial incident, June 5th, 0206. Time, 0643 hours. Location of incident, 553 Washington Avenue, Albany, New York. Officer and allegations, misconduct. Okay. Arrest authorities and procedures, improper arrest, exonerated by OPS. Use of force excessive during arrest, exonerated by OPS. Condition standing, sex-based discrimination, sexual assault, and stalking, no findings, OPS. A summary of CPRB member review investigation. The review revealed that detective was on a patrol when he observed the complainant sitting on the ground on the side of a business near the trash cans, possibly consuming suspected narcotics, specifically crack cocaine. The detective approached the complainant and began to speak with her. While speaking to the complainant, she threatened to break the detective's hand. Additionally, when the detective asserted that the complainant that she was holding a crack pipe, she did not deny it. The assertion she attempted to change the conversation. As the conversation progressed, the complainant attempted to discard the suspected crack pipe that she was holding in her left hand. The detective told the complainant not to discard the pipe. However, the complainant discarded that direction. As additional officers arrived, the complainant attempted to walk away. The detective responded by grabbing the complainant's right arm and placing her hand behind her back. The complainant resisted by pulling away. The officers were able to direct the complainant to a seated position on the ground, but she continued to resist by pulling away and kicking her legs. The officers were able to move the complainant to her stomach and place her hands behind her back. The complainant continued to pull away and at one point grabbed the officer's handcuffs. Once the complainant was secured in handcuffs, she continued her resistance by trying to escape the control of the officers. As the complainant calmed, the officers attempted to assist her to her feet so that she could be escorted to their vehicles. However, once the complainant was on her feet, she continued to kick, and at one point the officers attempted, At one point she assaulted one of the officers with such force that his body camera was kicked off. The officers were able to secure the complainant in the vehicle. However, she continued to kick the doors and windows of the vehicle. Finally, at no time during the incident did an officer make any remarks that were sexual in any nature, and nor did the officers engage in any acts that would momentarily be considered sexual assault. And there were no indications that the officers were stalking the complainant. In fact, the detective only referred to the complainant by her name after he located her Social Security card in her bag after she was arrested. CPRB member findings. I concur with OPS finding that, the findings and make the following recommendations. That it would be exonerated. Is there anybody else that would go against that, or?
Is the complainant here? Anybody? The complainant that's not here?
I believe the complainant is here, but I'm unsure if the complainant would like to speak. Does the complainant for CC 2026036 want to make a comment related to their complaint? I'll take that as a no.
I don't have any questions. Any questions from any members? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept the report as read.
Second.
So we have the motion. I will second that motion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carried. Next, we have CC 2026-40, Member Cheney.
Case number CC 2026-040. Date received July 1st, 2026. Office of Professional Standards, Detective assigned Abdallah. CPRB Board Member, James Cheney. Complaint actually submitted July 1st, 2026. Date and time of initial incident, June 2nd, 2026, 14:42 hours. Location of incident, 600 Northern Boulevard, Albany, New York. Officer and allegations of misconduct. Okay. Use of force, forcefully removing the complainant from the hospital, unfounded by OPS. Conduct standard, officers covered their badges and cameras, unfounded OPS. The review of OPS reports were consistent with the body-worn camera footage. Specifically, the officers responded to the hospital to respond to reports of a discharged patient refusing to leave. Upon arrival, the officers located the complainant in the hospital room and learned from staff that he was discharged and refused any treatment, declined to be transported back to the ambulance, and otherwise refused assistance. While speaking to the officers, the complainant stated that he wanted to go home and would not provide his home address. Additionally, when the officers would direct the conversations to the complainant about leaving, the complainant would act as if he was passing out. The officers responded by asking if the complainant was having a medical issue and made physical contact with the complainant to wake him, and the complainant would respond by screaming he was being hurt, despite no actual force being used. After several attempts to assist the complainant with transportation, the officers determined that the complainant would be arrested and for trespassing. The complainant, while still seated in the bed, was leaning forward, and the officers applied handcuffs. The officer requested the complainant assist them in moving from the bed to the transport chair, but he refused. Officers then supported the complainant as they assisted him from the bed to the transport chair. The support was one of the officers on each shoulder and the one officer supporting the complainant's legs. Once the complainant was placed in the chair, his lower body was covered with a sheet, and he was escorted to the bus stop outside. It should be noted that while pushing the complainant in his chair to the bus stop, that the sheet slipped to the ground. However, once the complainant and the officers reached the bus stop, the sheet was placed back on his lower body. After a period of just sitting at the bus stop, an ambulance arrived while they evaluated the complainant and assisted him for the chair to the gurney for transport to his residence. At no time did the officers use any force that would have been resulted in any of the allegations alleged, injuries to a severed toe and dislocated shoulder. In fact, the complainant had no visible signs of injury. CPRB board member findings. I concur with OPS findings and make the following recommendations that I'm in full agreement.
The complainant apparently is not here, so are any questions from any members? To have a motion on that report?
I make a motion to accept the report as read.
I second that. All those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Motion carries, or carried. Next, we have CC 2026-22, Member Morris.
Case number was CC 2026-022. The date received was April 29th, 2026. The Office of Professional Standards detective assigned was Detective Stiles, and the CPRB member assigned is myself, Member Morris. The complaint was received by OPS on May 7th, 2026. The location is within a private home on Grand Street, and the allegation was call handling, failure to investigate. OPS's finding was exonerated. A review of the body-worn camera footage and records reveals that on April 21st, 2026, Officer Musa spoke with complainant in a male Fember family about threats that they received from a downstairs neighbor. Officer Musa initially spoke with the male, who stated that he only wished to have the incident documented for use with the landlord. Then, after being asked, stated he would like a report done and to press charges, but did not know the identity of the neighbor, and was able to provide a vague description of the neighbor and an apartment number. Officer Musa provided an incident number and explained the process of signing charges once the neighbor was identified and then left. Officer Musa then responded another time to complainant's call about the neighbor threatening them. This time, Officer Musa spoke with the complainant, who informed Officer Musa that since he had left, more had occurred. Officer Musa spoke with the neighbor at the apartment they had identified. However, the neighbor did not match the male's description and denied that anyone else was present within the apartment. The neighbor and complainant and the male were all advised to refrain from threats and yelling and to raise concerns with the landlord. I agree with OPS's finding that this allegation of call handling, failure to investigate, be exonerated. Does any member have a question?
Nope.
Is the complainant present and wish to speak about this complaint?
Complainant is not here, so can we get a motion from a member on that report, please?
I make a motion to accept the findings as read.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. CC 2026-25, Member Morris again.
Complaint number is CC 2026-025. This complaint was received on May 5th, 2026. The Office of Professional Standards detective assigned is Detective Adlin, and the CPRB board member assigned is Member Morris. The allegations are allegations of call handling, failure to assist against Officers Valley, Brown, Tornello, Blossom, Nikeretz, Hashimi, Musa, and Stone, and all of the allegations of failure to assist were unfounded by OPS, with the exception of one, which was exonerated. The complainant alleged that she contacted APD for assistance and was told that there is nothing APD can do. APD had allowed landlords to access her bedroom without authorization or notice, and APD refused to provide incident reports to document these interactions. The review of records revealed that the complainant did make numerous calls to APD regarding issues with the landlord from whom she rented a single room within a home. Complainant explained that she and the landlords had been dealing with the matter in tenants' rights because the landlords were entering the property without always providing her appropriate notice. Because complainant was only renting a room rather than the full property, even though complainant was the sole tenant at the time, the landlords were not restricted from accessing the common areas without notice. AP officers responded to the calls on 4 occasions between April 10th and April 28th, 2026, and on each occasion, body-worn camera footage reflects that the officers advised that this issue was a civil matter and that the conduct complainant described did not support criminal charges being brought. Complainant's allegation that she contacted APD for assistance and was told there was nothing APD could do was unfounded based on the body-worn camera footage, as all officers who assisted the complainant advised her it was a civil matter and explained that her concerns would be documented within a call ticket for civil court, which they did. Complainant's allegation that APD allowed the landlords to access her bedroom without authorization or notice was also unfounded. Officers Musa and Stone were present on April 28, 2026, when the landlords were adding smoke detectors to the home. As discussed prior, the landlords did not appear to need notice to access common areas, as they are common and complainant only rented one room, and the body-worn camera footage from April 20th, 2026 reflects that the complainant was present and stated she would not restrict the landlords from installing the smoke detector in her room, therefore giving authorization for them to access. The landlords only accessed the room she rented after complainant made the statement, and the complainant did not allege that the landlords accessed her bedroom on any other date. For that reason, that allegation was also found unfounded. Complainant's allegation that APD refused to provide incident reports to document the interactions is exonerated. The body-worn camera footage reflects that all officers advised the complainant that this was a civil matter and that incident reports could not be completed because a crime had not occurred. However, the matter was documented within the call ticket. I concur with OPS's findings and make the recommendation that this complaint be closed as unfounded as regards to complainant's allegation that she contacted APD for assistance and was told there was nothing that APD could do. Unfounded as to the allegation that APD allowed the landlords to access her room without authorization, and exonerated as to the allegation that APD refused to provide incident reports to document the interactions. Do any members have questions?
Nope.
Is the complainant for this complaint present, and do they wish to speak?
Is there a motion to approve this report from the membership?
Make a motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Last report we have is CC 2026-29, Member Morris.
I have complaint CC 2026-029. The complaint was received on May 20th, 2026. The Office of Professional Standards detective assigned was Detective Adlon, and the CPRB board member assigned is myself, Member Morris. The date and time of incident is May 18, 2026, and the location, the time is 21:22 hours, and the location of the incident is Clinton Avenue and 10 Brook Street. The allegation was, the complainant alleged that he was pulled over for failing to stop at a stop sign, and the police were pulling people over for unfounded reasons. He alleged the officers were rude, sarcastic, dismissive, arrogant, and nasty, and he was racially profiled. He said his 16-year-old grandson was scarred due to the officer having a gun on his hand, having his hand on his gun as if he was going to shoot him. The OPS findings were unfounded as to the arrest, as to the improper traffic stop, unfounded as to the conduct standards allegation that officers were rude, sarcastic, dismissive, arrogant, and nasty, unfounded as to the conduct standards allegation of racial profiling, and unfounded as to the call handling allegation that officer placed a hand on firearm. A review of camera footage from traffic lights as well as dashboard cameras and officers' body-worn camera was available. A review of the camera footage shows that a vehicle turned right on 2nd Street, travel south on Tenbrook, and passed a marked APD vehicle traveling north on Tenbrook near 1st Street. As the vehicle turned, it appeared that no right signal was activated, and one headlight appeared to be dimmer than the other. After observing the vehicle turn, officers discussed the lack of a turn and then made a U-turn to travel south on Tenbrook and gap behind the vehicle, which was stopped at a red light on Tenbrook and Clinton. Once the light turned green, the vehicle makes a left-hand turn without signaling. It is at this point that the officers activated their emergency equipment to stop the vehicle. Once the vehicle was stopped, Officer Hung Mung exited and approached the driver's side window, while Officer Nelson approached the passenger side of the stopped vehicle. Officer Nelson does not appear to have any direct contact with the vehicle's passenger at this time. This passenger is the complainant's grandson. However, Officer Nelson does appear to rest his hand and his forearm on the holstered firearm. Officer Hung Mang explains to the complainant that he was stopped due to a lack of a turn signal as he turned right off 2nd Avenue. Officer Hung Mang also informed the complainant that one of his headlights is out. Complainant responded that the headlight is dim. Officer Mang informed complainant that the light does not appear to be working, and complainant replied, okay. Officer Hung Mang requested that the complainant provide a driver's license. The complainant asked for Officer Hung Mang's badge number and remarks that he is a member of the Common Council, which he is, and CPRB, which he is not. When Officer Hung Mang asked why the complainant had made these statements, complainant states he felt that he was being harassed. Officer Hung Mang asked why the complainant felt he was being harassed, and the complainant did not respond in a substantive way. Upon reviewing the driver's license, both officers returned to their vehicle to verify if the license is valid. While completing the check, Officer Hung Mang informs other APD officers who had arrived on the scene that their assistance is not needed and informs them that the stopped vehicle is occupied by a council member. The other officers leave the scene of the traffic stop and do not interact with the complainant, his godson, and they do not approach his grandson, nor do they approach the vehicle. Once the check is complete, the officers return to the vehicle. Officer Hung Mang approaches the complainant, and Officer Nelson returns to the passenger side of the vehicle. Complainant requests and receives Officer Hung Mang's badge number again. Officer Hung Mang tells the complainant that he is giving a verbal warning and reiterates comments about the headlights and the absence of a turn signal. The complainant activates his right turn signal, and the officer approaches the front of the vehicle to verify that it is working. Complainant notes that he halted at a stop sign, even though officers never raised the failure to stop at a stop sign. Additionally, complainant remarks to the Officer Nelson that he is scaring his grandson by having his hand on his firearm and reiterates that he feels harassed. He states that he was stopped when he did nothing wrong and that he will be contacting Chief Cox. Officer Hung Mang asks if the complainant's grandson is okay, and the juvenile states that he does or did feel scared. Officer Hung Mang apologizes, states that everything is okay, and that is just how officers stand. In apparent response to these comments, Officer Nelson turns his body towards the passenger side of the vehicle and remarks that his hands were just right on top like this, and officers show that the officer's firearm is in the holster on his right side, with the palm of his right hand resting on the back side of the slide, but is not touching the grip of the firearm. Officer Hung Mang returns the complainant's driver's license, encourages the complainant to have his headlight checked, and provides his badge number again. He tells the complainant to have a good day, and the interaction ends. Throughout the encounter, the officer requests Officer Hung Mang's badge number several times, and Officer Hung Mang provides it at each request. Neither officer's statements or responses when addressing the complainant or his grandson appear to be rude, sarcastic, dismissive, arrogant, or nasty. The failure to appropriately signal is sufficient reason for officers to initiate a traffic stop, and it does not appear that the officer profiled complainant when pulling him over to provide the warning concerning his dim lights and lack of signaling. While Officer Nelson rested his hand on his weapon, the weapon was fully holstered, and at no time did the officer appear to grip it. For these reasons, these allegations were unfounded. I concur with OPS's findings and make the recommendations that the complaint be closed, unfounded with regard to the improper traffic stop. I also concur and recommend that we close the complaint that of conduct standings, that the officers were rude, sarcastic, dismissive, arrogant, and nasty is unfounded, as well as the allegation of racial profiling should be closed as unfounded. I recommend that the call handling, officer placing a hand on firearm, be closed as unfounded as well. Does any member have a question?
Just wanted to know, was it standard operation to rest their hands on their weapon?
It does appear that there is no policy that states they cannot rest a hand as long as the weapon is holstered.
Okay.
I can confirm there is no operating procedure that says where an officer cannot put his hands.
Okay, and I only asked that from past traumas where I was stopped at one point and an officer did rest his hand on his weapon. So I'm just saying it can be intimidating. So I just wanted to ask, is that standard operation?
Understandable. We actually do speak to, once the officers are out on field training and we're actually on the street with them and interacting with them, the field trainers do try to make them cognizant of what they're doing with their hands. I can tell you from personal experience, the way that officer had his hand is just a comfort thing. You don't know what to do with your hands. We actually can't put our hands in our pockets most of the time just based on the gear. So as opposed to putting your hands in your pockets or keeping them tucked in your vest, officers kind of rest their hands on their belt, which does have a substantial amount of equipment on it. It is heavy, so you will constantly see officers readjusting their belt. We are aware that it could be intimidating when officers are indexing, we call it, when they have their hand on their handgun. In that case, the officer was not actually gripping his handgun. He was more or less resting his palm of his hand on the holster, but I can understand where that could be misinterpreted.
And I only say that because as a citizen, if my hands were in my pocket, I would be told by an officer, remove my hands out of my pocket. So I just wanted to ask that, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm not sure or clear about the purpose of stopping the complainant initially when they said, I'm a little confused about some of the details when you said they turned and or after a stop sign and then they stopped them. There was a reason why they stopped them, and then they checked. My understanding is, and clarify, that his lights were not working or dim, and then he tested, the officer at the end tested the lights to find out they were working. So were they not, were they working or were they not working?
Sure. So it appeared that they stopped him. They stopped initially because there was a failure to use the right turn signal.
Mm-hmm.
So that was their first observation.
Okay.
Then when they did a U-turn to follow, they then observed that the complainant did not use their left-hand turn signal when turning another time, and at that point they turned on their lights to stop him. When they approached, they did mention that his front light was dim, and he said it was working, but that was not the reason for the stop. It was just a note that his lights appeared to be dim. And before the complainant was allowed to depart the scene, he did test, and his lights do work. It just appears that he failed to actually activate them.
Okay, that was that part. On the other part too, was it clear with the conversation between the officer and the complainant? Was there a report that there was one perspective that it was rude, it was sarcastic? Was there any verbiage or tape that said, that actually heard what the officer said to the complainant?
Yes, so the body-worn camera footage did capture the conversations that were had. The complainant, I believe, I cannot speak for them, I think they thought that the officer was being rude and dismissive because when they made comments about they are a member of the Common Council, they are a member of the CPRB, which they are not, the officer said in response, okay. And then asked, why are you telling me this? I don't know what else was said that might have been thought to be dismissive. Nothing that was said other than those things I would think would have been characterized as rude or sarcastic or nasty. However, I'm sorry, is there any other questions? I do believe that the complainant is here and perhaps can answer some of those questions for themselves. If the complainant is here and wishes to speak, please come to the center table.
I believe the complainant is here, but it's unknown if the complainant would like to speak. Does the complainant wish to speak on this complaint? If so, please come to the table at this time. Please come to the table, sir.
John Williams, the Common Council, First Ward. First, I wanted to ask a question before I get into the young lady at the board was reading a report. This is to Mr. Jarrett and the board. How was this complaint received and who filed the complaint? Because, hold up, I'm gonna let you respond because I never filed a complaint at all, and I just wanted to know who filed it because I didn't file a complaint, sir.
While you did not file you are correct, you did not file a complaint with our office, and it's my understanding you did not file a formal complaint with the police department either. However, once our office was notified of the publicly accessible Facebook post related to the incident, and APD was made aware of it, APD began investigating the incident, and the board registered the complaint based off of the Facebook post in of itself, which is something that we are allowed to do. Complaints do not have to be filed by the individual that had the interaction with the police. It can be filed by any third party or any anonymous individual who wishes to file a complaint. So our acceptings of complaints and filing complaints are extremely broad, so we do not run the risk of failing to respond to problematic interactions with the police department.
So you don't have to give the complainant or him or her, you can just file on your own, the board?
The board did not file the complaint. We registered the complaint based off of the contents of the publicly accessible Facebook post when other city officials, specifically staff from the Common Council and the mayor's office, contacted us related to the post. When it was brought to our attention, we did not initially register the complaint. When we spoke to APD informed us they were aware of the Facebook post, and we decided to register the complaint at that time to ensure that the matter was fully investigated given the nature of the content of that Facebook post. We wanted to ensure that every part of the interaction was proper and there were no improprieties on either side of the equation to provide the best transparency related to that interaction.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to address, I'm not going to get into detail because the trauma that I went through as well as my grandson on that night, it still bothers my grandson and myself. If any of the board's members was in a situation, I hope you never experience that, because I'm coming down 3rd Street, stop, made a right-hand turn, but let me back up. But before that, I was at a Common Council meeting. I want to make clear that I'm not on a CPRB. I apologize about that. I'm on the Public Safety Committee. So speed up a little. I made the turn going down Timbrook, talking to my grandson, you know, because we just dropped off his friend. 2nd Street, made a complete stop sign. Kept going. My grandson, some lights. I didn't do nothing. I'm doing the speed limit. Went past, right by Sweet Pilgrim Baptist Church to see the lights. So I pull over in front of Family Court. And when I pull over, the officer was so arrogant, was so nasty. What the board, what you see is the camera on me. But his reaction towards me, if he done it to me, he done it to plenty other black and brown young men. His reaction that he didn't care, he's arrogant. I told my grandson to put his phone down because I was scared of the partner. I know what I saw. He had his hand on his gun. And he asked my grandson, "Are you scared?" And my grandson said, "Yes, I'm scared." Try not to get too emotional, because this is not about me. This is about other black and brown young men that get pulled over. And it's hurting because I wasn't speeding. And then he had the tenacity to ask me, "Whose car is this?" I believe when they pull you over, they already knows the car, who is. To antagonize me even more. First you tell me I didn't signal, then you said my lights wasn't working. He told me to get out. He seen that my lights are working. I hit the lights. Oh, they're working. The signals are working. So why did you pull me over for? That really, why did you pull me over for? He saw the lights working. He saw the signals working. What he pulled me over for? And I just want to say to the board, continue reviewing these cases. I know you guys will do an excellent job, but I pray that a situation, in my situation, that any other mother, father, grandfather, grandmother in a situation, because the trauma, I was so feared, of my grandson. I didn't want to bury my grandson. You don't know what, because he had his phone like this. And if I told him to put it down, if you'd have put it up, anything could have happened. So I just want to thank you all for listening to me, but I just want to make it clear, I'm not on a CRP. I'm on the police. I'm on the public safety committee. And that's what I apologize about that when I was saying. But anything else as far as that, the way that he was antagonizing me, this is not nothing new. Because as I was saying, you guys saw me on the camera. You didn't see what he was doing to me. If you saw what he was doing to me, it would have been a different story. So I thank you. God bless you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Yes, Member Garland. I don't have any questions. I do have a question about the report. During the investigation, Julia, was there anything with respect to an interdepartmental correspondence or interview when they did talk to the officer, if this gun thing came up at all with respect to the investigation, or at least the officer or the detective saying, that could be sensitive, you're aware of what happened. So did that come up at all in the investigation, the gun, arm or hand on the gun thing? I'm sorry. So we understand the sensitivity of the hand or arm on the gun. So during the investigation by OPS, did that question or topic come up at all?
Sorry, no, there was video that showed, there was actually, from where you stopped, the traffic lights did capture the stop. It wasn't just the body worn camera, so it was able to be seen where the officer was placing his hands.
Right, right. I guess my question is that, and Lieutenant Peterson explained it very well, whether they're resting and anything in that area is sensitive. So I'm just saying that the investigator might have just asked the cop or the officer, hey, you know your hand was on a gun or you're aware, you know that could be scary. I'm just saying just the concept itself wasn't brought up in the investigation, just seems a little, I know the camera revealed it was okay, but for someone to say, you know, that could be problematic when you pull people over and it could be intimidating, that's all.
No, it doesn't appear to have been asked in the investigation. I think it was just addressed on the scene when they said he was scared and he apologized and said, oh, I was just doing this, I'm sorry. But that appears to be the only time it was addressed in the investigation.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions by members?
Yes, I just one more question. I just wanted to address the young lady. When I said to the officer that my grandson was scared, and when you see the camera, it doesn't show his partner on the other side. It doesn't, right, correct? Am I correct? Okay. I'm looking, I'm in the driver's seat, and I'm looking, and I'm telling, and he had it just like this, like, you know, he had it like this, and I'm looking, and I'm telling the other officer that was extremely rude to me that for my grandson is scared, and he said, no, he's not. I mean, you can see it on his face if he was there. You can see it on his face. He asked my grandson. My grandson said, yes. He said, oh, I'm sorry, like that, okay. But that's what I'm trying to say to you. If you was there, and my grandson's right there, and I'm looking, you can see he had him right there. Told him to put this phone down. That's all.
Yes, go ahead, Member Cheney.
Well, and I'm going to speak in reference to the elephant in the room. I am a man of color. My heart goes out to you, and I apologize. I was not there, but as a person that has sat and watched the news, and a person that is aware of different forms of intimidation, I don't feel that that child, for any reason, needed to go through that, and for that, we apologize.
Let me just, I also want to say we apologize for you, Mr. Williamson, for what you experienced yourself and your grandson. And I, too, not being there, having similar situations happen to me in times past, I can only attest that you probably are the only one that can tell how you felt and your grandchild felt, because no one can tell you or your grandchild how to feel when those situations occur. So I do feel for you in that capacity, and I don't feel that the videos that was shown, everything that was shown or recorded everything that was said, everything that was done. It did record what was recorded, but I don't, know if it recorded everything, and only for, as we know, you and the officer know exactly what was said and what was done at that particular time. But based on what the video shows and what that was recorded, it can reflect a different perspective. And all I can say to you is that I apologize that these things did occur and did happen to you, and that officers, if they're like that, they need to be corrected. And I just don't necessarily feel overly confident about the outcome of this, what was actually done. I don't feel comfortable.
All right, if there's no more discussion, is there a motion from a member on this report? I'm going to make a,
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining on that one. Thank you. Last item on our agenda, I want to have a motion for CC 2026-43, which was withdrawn. So we need a motion to approve the withdrawal of that and closure of that report from a member.
I make a motion that, well, is it approved for the closure of the review what we just established?
That's not on Julia's report. That's, yeah, that's on CC 2643.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Withdrawing?
yeah, the very last one. So it wasn't an open report, but when we withdraw a report, we have to formally withdraw it. So this is not the Julia report. This is a totally separate one that's at the end of the agenda that we're going to close it without review, but we have to do that formally.
I make a motion that we withdraw the report.
I second that motion. All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. That carried. I need a motion for adjournment. I motion that we adjourn. Get a second?
I second.
Second.
Is that Julia with the second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That has carried. Thank you all, and we'll see you later.